What comes to mind when you hear the word Iran? Desert, ruins, maybe politics and headlines? But here's a secret. Iran isn't just a land of history, it's a kingdom of wings. From snow peaks to salt plains, from turquoise rivers to burning sands, this country hides some of the most strange, sacred, and untamed birds on earth. Creatures that have flown through Persian poetry for centuries and still glide today over mosques, marshes, and mountain winds. You've seen eagles before, but have you seen one that hunts across 1,000 miles of desert? You've seen flamingos, but not the kind that color salt lakes pink under the Iranian sun. Every one of these 20 birds carries a legend. Some worshipped, some feared, all unforgettable. So what if I told you Iran's wildest beauty doesn't live in museums, but in the sky above them? Stay close, because in the next few minutes, you'll see a side of Iran that even most Iranians have never witnessed. And when we're done, tell me, which bird would you call sacred? You think you've seen a royal bird before? Please, wait till you meet the Eurasian hoopoe, the crowned gossip of Persian legend, the bird that's been worshipped, written about, and possibly a little too proud of itself. Bright orange crest like a royal headdress, black and white wings like a striped robe, and a call that sounds like it's laughing at you. Hoopoe, hoopoe! Yeah, even its name is onomatopoeic, a self-branding move way before TikTok trends existed. In ancient Persian poetry, the hoopoe wasn't just a bird, it was a messenger of wisdom. It guided kings, carried secrets, and in the conference of the birds, it was literally chosen as the leader of all birds. A feathered prophet with eyeliner and attitude. But here's the kicker. In real life, this holy messenger is kind of gross. It uses its beak to stab insects, rubs stinky oil from its glands to repel predators, and sometimes feeds chicks with, brace yourself, fermented bugs. Sacred? Sure. Sanitary? Not so much. Still, you can't deny the charisma. Watching it strut across the sand, crest rising like it just got good news, you can almost hear it saying, "Yeah, I'm the chosen one." Again, it's found across Iran's plains and villages, often landing near humans, like it's checking whether we've learned anything since the last century. Fun fact, some farmers believe seeing a hoopoe near your home brings blessings. Others think it's a bad omen. It's basically nature's personality test. Do you see elegance or attitude? So tell me, prophet or diva? Because the Eurasian hoopoe doesn't care which one you pick. It'll keep strutting under that golden crest either way, singing its own name until the world remembers it again. And next, we meet a traveler with longer legs, whiter feathers, and an even bigger ego. A bird that turns every rooftop in Iran into a stage. You've heard the story. The stork brings babies, right? Cute myth. But here in Iran, the white stork doesn't deliver babies. It delivers reputation. Tall, elegant, snow white with black-tipped wings, this bird walks through villages like it owns them. And honestly, people let it. Because in Persian culture, a stork nesting on your roof means luck, protection, and blessings. Basically, if a stork moves in, congratulations, your house just got verified. They build these massive stick nests, 5 feet wide, right on top of chimneys, domes, or power poles. And when one settles in, the whole village watches. It's like the Kardashians moving next door. Everyone's hoping for a sighting, a photo, a sign. But here's the twist. The stork doesn't stay loyal. Each year it migrates thousands of miles, flying from Africa to Iran and back again, clocking more air miles than your favorite travel vlogger. And somehow it still returns to the same rooftop every spring. Talk about commitment issues with consistency. Fun fact, they're incredible navigators, following invisible thermal currents and landmarks with precision scientists still don't fully understand. They even take pit stops on the way, resting in ancient wetlands and salt lakes. That's right, the original backpacker route was invented by a bird. And when they finally arrive, villagers celebrate, children cheer. Because for centuries, the stork's return has meant one thing. Life goes on, the seasons turn, and hope still lands on your rooftop. But let's be honest, do they come back for love Or because they know they'll be treated like celebrities every single time? So tell me, symbol of faith or just a really smart influencer milking human affection for free rent? Either way, the white stork's PR game is flawless. Next, we trade rooftops for open plains, where 1,000 gray wings rise and fall in unison, and grace becomes a survival strategy. Have you ever seen something so graceful it makes you wonder, how does it not know it's beautiful? That's the common crane, the ballerina of Iran's salt plains. All legs, elegance, and unapologetic drama. They move like slow-motion poetry, long necks arched, silver gray feathers catching the wind. Each step deliberate, like they're walking to a rhythm only they can hear. And when they dance, oh, they dance. Pairs leap into the air, toss their heads, flap their wings like silk fans and land perfectly in sync. It's not mating, it's choreography. And the audience? Everyone who's lucky enough to watch. But don't be fooled by the calm exterior. These birds are serious travelers. They migrate from Europe and Siberia, flying hundreds of miles to reach Iran's wetlands each winter. They follow ancient routes older than empires, guided by instincts sharper than GPS. When you see thousands of cranes rising at dawn over the Iranian sky, it feels less like bird watching and more like witnessing a sacred ritual. Their calls echo across the desert like trumpets, haunting, beautiful, and somehow sad. Because yes, their world is shrinking. Wetlands dry, fields disappear. Yet they keep dancing. Every year, same time, same place. Fun fact, in Persian folklore, cranes are messengers between heaven and earth. Their dance is said to celebrate creation itself. Imagine that. Nature's oldest waltz, performed on cracked salt and wind. So tell me, are they dancing out of joy? Or because they're remembering a world we already lost? Either way, the common crane turns the Iranian desert into a stage, and we're the lucky audience. Next, the tone changes. Grace gives way to power, silence to shadow, as the desert's true monarch spreads its wings. You ever look at a bird and think, yeah, that one's definitely judging me? That's the steppe eagle, the desert monarch of Iran, perched high above the plains, watching everything with the patience of a ruler who's seen empires rise and fall, and couldn't care less. Broad wings, golden eyes, a stare that could melt sand. When this eagle soars, the air itself seems to step aside. And honestly, wouldn't you? It's one of the largest birds of prey in the Middle East. 6-foot wingspan, built for endurance, crossing continents from Russia and Kazakhstan all the way to southern Iran. It doesn't just survive the desert, it owns it, circling silently for hours, scanning the dunes for movement, then one sudden dive, and the hunt is over before you can even gasp. Fun fact, steppe eagles are scavengers and hunters. They'll grab live prey or crash a vulture's dinner if they feel like it. No guilt, no hesitation. Efficiency over etiquette, the royal motto. And yet this fierce monarch faces a quiet rebellion, power lines, habitat loss, poisoned food. Every year, fewer return to Iran's open skies. Still, those who do look unstoppable, ancient warriors in feathered armor, their cries echoing over endless gold. You can spot them near Dashti Kavir and the open steppes, lonely silhouettes cutting through the heat haze. And if you do, don't blink. You're being watched back. So what do you think? Pure predator or misunderstood hero? Because out here, in the kingdom of wind and dust, power doesn't roar, it glides. Next up, night falls, and we trade daylight glory for the eyes of a silent emperor. A hunter so wise it doesn't chase the world, it waits for it. Ever feel like someone's watching you, but smarter? That's the Eurasian eagle owl, the midnight emperor of Iran's mountains. Ancient, enormous, and absolutely done with everyone's nonsense. With eyes the color of molten amber, feathers that blend into rock, and a wingspan close to 6 feet, this owl doesn't fly through the night. It owns it. You won't hear it coming. You'll just feel it, that eerie silence before something powerful moves. It's not hunting for attention. It's hunting for dinner. Foxes, rodents, even other birds. All fair game. When it locks onto prey, it drops from the cliff edge like gravity's personal assistant. Impact, silence, gone. In Persian folklore, the owl has always had a double life. To some, it's a cursed spirit, the bird of ruin. To others, it's a guardian of wisdom, keeper of secrets no human deserves to hear. Either way, you don't ignore it. Even in myth, the eagle owl never played background. Fun fact, it doesn't hoot softly like storybooks say. It booms, a deep, rolling call that can echo for miles. Imagine thunder with judgment. That's what the night sounds like when it speaks. And unlike most raptors, eagle owls stay with their partners for life. They defend their territory together, year after year. Loyal, ruthless, efficient. The kind of marriage that could survive anything, except sunlight. You'll find them in Iran's cliffs and rocky valleys, where shadows stretch long and prey forgets to look up. So what do you think? Wise old sage or feathery executioner? Because under that royal glare, it's hard to tell whether it's studying the stars or just deciding if you're next. Next, we step from shadow to reflection, where light hits water and grace takes the shape of wings that can blot out the sun. Ever seen a flying bathtub? No? Then you've never met the Dalmatian pelican, Iran's floating fortress of feathers, part ballerina, part bulldozer, and somehow still beautiful. This giant can stretch over 10 feet from wingtip to wingtip, the largest pelican on Earth. When it takes off, the lake literally ripples under the effort. Graceful? In theory, yes. In practice, it's like watching a sofa trying to do ballet. Awkward at first, then suddenly majestic. Found across Iran's northern wetlands and the Caspian Sea, these birds are winter visitors. Big, loud, and impossible to ignore. Their silver-white feathers shimmer like ice. Their throat pouches glow orange in sunlight. And when they glide, the whole sky looks too small. Fun fact, each bird eats up to 4 pounds of fish per day. They fish in teams, forming a circle, slapping the water with their wings, herding the fish into a tight cluster, then scooping them up with synchronized precision. It's strategy, chaos, and teamwork, all in one splash. Despite their size, they're surprisingly gentle. They preen endlessly, fluffing those silver curls of feathers like old movie stars preparing for a close-up. And they hate getting dirty, which is ironic considering they spend all day in the mud. But here's the sad part. The wetlands that host them are shrinking fast. Water diversion, drought, pollution. Their kingdom is fading beneath their wings. And still, they return every year as if refusing to believe the stage is gone. So, what do you see when you look at one? A clumsy giant pretending to be graceful? Or a survivor still holding on to elegance when the world stops clapping? Next, we stay by the water, but trade silver for fire. A creature so pink, so perfect, it makes the desert blush. So pink, so tall, so unnecessarily dramatic. Meet the greater flamingo, the bird that makes Iran's salt lakes look like someone spilled champagne on the desert. They arrive in flocks, hundreds of pale pink bodies wading through the water like models on a runway they built themselves, necks curved into perfect question marks, legs impossibly thin, like nature decided, let's see how far we can push elegance before it snaps. Fun fact, that pink color, not natural, it's diet-made. Flamingos eat shrimp and algae rich in carotenoids, pigments that tint their feathers pink. Basically, they're living proof that you are what you eat. Stop eating beige food, and maybe you too can glow. But don't let the glam fool you. These birds survive in brutal conditions. Alkaline lakes, searing heat, salt flats, so harsh most life can't exist. Where other species see death, flamingos see an opportunity for fabulous lighting. They filter feed with their heads upside down, using specialized bills like sieves to strain out microscopic food. It looks weird, like they're sipping soup from the wrong end of the spoon, but it works. And that's flamingo energy in a nutshell. Grace, confusion, and results. They breed in colonies that look straight out of a surreal dream. Pink mirages stretching for miles across the desert horizon. When chicks hatch, they're gray, awkward, and clumsy. Tiny goth versions of their glamorous parents. Give them time, shrimp, and sunlight. Boom, instant influencer. So what's your verdict? Nature's masterpiece, or the world's most extra bird on stilts? Because either way, the greater flamingo doesn't care. It's too busy turning a toxic lake into a photo shoot. Next, we trade pink elegance for silent precision, where white feathers stalk the shallows and stillness becomes the deadliest weapon. Ever notice how the most beautiful creatures are also the deadliest? Yeah, meet the little egret, the bird that hunts like a ninja and dresses like it's attending a wedding. Pure white feathers, black legs, yellow feet, like it dipped its toes in gold paint just to show off. It moves slow, silent, deliberate, and then snap, one lightning-fast strike, and dinner's over before the fish even realizes it was on the menu. This bird is elegance weaponized. You'll find it stalking the shallows of Iran's wetlands and lagoons, barely causing a ripple, each step measured like it's counting its calories. And when it spreads its wings, the light itself seems to pause. Even the wind knows better than to interrupt. Fun fact, those yellow feet aren't just for looks. They work as bait. The egret wiggles them underwater to lure curious fish closer, like a fisherman with a manicure. Smart, sneaky, and stylish, the trifecta of survival. They often hunt alone, preferring peace and precision to chaos. But during breeding season, total drama. They fluff up their head plumes, build extravagant nests, and hiss at rivals like fashion critics at a red carpet fail. And yet, for all that attitude, the little egret never loses its composure. It's the James Bond of the bird world. Lethal, beautiful, always in white. So what do you think? Pure serenity or silent killer? Because under all that poise and polish, the little egret isn't meditating. It's calculating. Next, we go bigger, grayer, and even more patient. A master hunter who proves that stillness can be scarier than speed. You ever meet someone who doesn't talk much, but when they do, you listen? That's the gray heron, the silent swordsman of Iran's wetlands. Tall, calm, and permanently unimpressed, it stands motionless for minutes, sometimes hours, like a statue built by patience itself. Long neck coiled, eyes locked, and then strike, lightning in feather form. No wasted motion, no second chances. You'll find them at dawn, mist rising over the marshes, their reflections gliding on the water like ghosts in training. While other birds flap and fuss, the heron just waits and waits because it knows one truth. The world always comes to those who don't chase. Fun fact, that stillness isn't laziness, it's strategy. Herons can adjust their neck vertebrae like a spring, allowing a lightning-fast jab that's faster than human reflexes. That's right, the bird meditates, then murders. Zen with a body count. Their diet? Whatever moves, fish, frogs, snakes, mice. If it twitches, it's lunch. They even steal from other birds, snatching food mid-air with surgical precision. No guilt, no hesitation, just physics. And here's what's wild. Gray herons have lived alongside humans for millennia, nesting near rice fields, fishing boats, even city canals. They've adapted to us, but never once looked impressed. Look into its eyes and you'll see it. The patience of a saint, the judgment of a teacher, and the calm of someone who's already figured life out. So tell me, is it wise or just tired of our chaos? Because the gray heron has mastered the art of silence, and that's something humans still can't seem to do. Next, we move from silver to bronze, a smaller bird, darker and vanishing fast. One that turns every quiet pond into a reflection of what we're losing. You ever meet someone who's too beautiful for this world, and somehow the world agrees? That's the ferruginous duck, Iran's bronze ghost. A bird so rare, even bird watchers whisper its name like it's a rumor. At first glance, it doesn't scream exotic. It's small, calm, chestnut brown with glowing white eyes, like a cup of espresso staring back at you. But then sunlight hits its feathers, and suddenly it's copper, gold, and mahogany all at once. A liquid mirror drifting across the lake. They're shy, painfully shy. While flashy ducks quack for attention, this one slips quietly through Iran's wetlands, preferring solitude to spectacle. And maybe that's why it's vanishing. Fun fact, despite being one of the most threatened ducks in Eurasia, the ferruginous duck is terrible at hiding from trouble. Its nesting sites flood easily, its food sources vanish with every drought, and it has an annoying habit of nesting too close to humans. Basically, it's the introvert who picked the loudest neighborhood. Still, there's something hauntingly proud about it. It doesn't beg for sympathy. It just exists quietly, feeding in the golden morning light, disappearing before noon, like a secret the land isn't ready to share. And when it takes flight, those white underwings flash like silver blades against the sun. It's a blink and miss miracle, a reminder that beauty doesn't need to announce itself. It just needs to survive. So tell me, if a bird this stunning disappears, but no one's around to notice, does it still matter? Or are we just too busy staring at the loud ones to see what's fading? Next, we switch from solitude to spectacle, a sapphire blur slicing through rivers, proving that sometimes speed is the art. You know those people who show up late, make a grand entrance, and somehow everyone forgives them? That's the common kingfisher, Iran's tiny blue missile that refuses to blend in with anything. It's barely the size of your hand, but it wears colors that would make a gemstone jealous. Electric blue back, fiery orange belly, and a beak so long it looks aerodynamic even when it's standing still. If birds had sports cars, this one's a Bugatti. You'll find it perched low over Iran's rivers and lakes, still as a statue, waiting for that perfect moment. Then bam, it dives like a blue bullet, hits the water, and surfaces with a fish so perfectly caught it's almost rude. Fun fact, kingfishers see underwater. Their eyes adjust refraction instantly, so what we'd call distortion, they call lunch. And they dive at over 25 miles per hour, which means by the time you blink, it's already done eating. But here's the thing, for all that speed and style, the kingfisher lives dangerously. It needs clean water and healthy fish populations to survive. And guess what's running out fast? Both. Pollution and drought are pushing these sapphire hunters to the edges of their range. Still they return, silent, precise, unstoppable. Every dive a statement, still here, still shining. So what do you think? A symbol of hope or a warning shot? Because in a world where colors fade and rivers dry, the kingfisher's flash of blue feels like nature's last flare. Next, we stay bright, but this time, it's not stealth. It's full-on performance. Feathers like a rainbow, attitude like a rock star, and an appetite for bees. You ever see a bird so colorful it makes parrots look underdressed? Yeah, that's the European bee-eater, nature's airshow performer with zero sense of subtlety. Turquoise, gold, chestnut, green. It's like a rainbow exploded and decided to form a bird. When sunlight hits those feathers, it doesn't just shine, it glows. And of course, it knows it. These birds migrate from Africa to Iran every spring, arriving in flocks like celebrities stepping off a private jet. They dig burrows into sandy riverbanks, not because they have to, but because tree nests are apparently too mainstream. And here's the kicker, they eat bees. Bees! They catch them midair, slam them against a branch to remove the stinger, then swallow them whole like spicy snacks. Who needs Netflix when dinner comes with drama and risk? Fun fact, bee eaters are expert flyers. They twist, dive, and loop through the air like stunt pilots, often just to show off. You can almost hear them saying, "Yeah, I could have caught that mosquito." But where's the style in that? They hunt together, perch together, and look like they're having the time of their lives, until another flock passes by. Then it's a full-blown aerial shouting match. Even beauty needs an ego outlet. Still, it's hard not to admire them. In a world full of camouflage and caution, the bee-eater goes full neon. It's not hiding. It's thriving. So tell me, is that bravery or vanity? Because honestly, this bird doesn't care. It's too busy looking perfect at 40 miles per hour. Next, we land in the forest, where beauty takes a back seat and brains take over. Meet the feathered thief who steals, hoards, and somehow still looks good doing it. Ever met someone who's way too smart for their own good? The kind of person who causes chaos on purpose just to see if they can fix it? That's the Eurasian jay, Iran's feathered mastermind and part-time troublemaker. At first glance, it looks innocent. Soft brown body, black mustache, stripe, and those electric blue wing patches that scream, "I'm fabulous, but I bite." But behind those pretty eyes is one of the sharpest bird brains in the animal kingdom. Jays are planners. They collect acorns, seeds, and shiny objects, then bury them across miles of forest. Months later, they remember exactly where they hid them. Better memory than most of us with car keys. Fun fact, studies show they can plan for the future, saving food they don't need now for days they might. That's advanced thinking, or, as I like to call it, anxiety with feathers. They're also mimics. They can copy other birds, cats, even human voices. Imagine hearing your own ringtone echoing from a tree. That's not a glitch. That's a jay messing with you. In Persian woodlands, they're everywhere, darting between oaks and orchards, flashing blue and brown like thieves mid-heist. And yes, they steal food, nesting materials, occasionally pride, but somehow you still end up liking them. Because unlike most thieves, the jay doesn't hide out of guilt. It struts with confidence. It wants you to know it got away with it. So what do you think? Genius or menace? Because every forest needs a little chaos, and the Eurasian jay delivers it with perfect color coordination. Next, we meet its louder cousin. Same brains, bigger attitude, and a talent for turning gossip into survival strategy. You ever meet someone who's smart, stylish, and absolutely untrustworthy? That's the Eurasian magpie, Iran's most charming little con artist in feathers. Black and white, sharp as a tuxedo, tail long and iridescent with flashes of blue-green. It looks like a bird born for a gala, but it's usually found stealing your snacks. Magpies are legends across cultures, symbols of intelligence, mischief, and, depending on who you ask, either good luck or bad omens. In Persian folklore, they're tricksters, the storytellers who blur the line between genius and madness. And honestly, they live up to the hype. Fun fact, magpies can recognize themselves in mirrors. One of the few animals on Earth that can. That's right. This bird knows it's fabulous. It looks, preens, maybe judges you a little, and then flies off with your jewelry. They're problem solvers, communicators, and drama enthusiasts. In groups, they squawk, gossip, and stage full-on arguments over food, like a reality show in the trees. They'll even fake bearing food to trick others, then sneak back later for the real stash. That's not survival instinct. That's strategic trolling. And while some call them thieves, I call them artists of opportunity, because every theft is perfectly timed, every shiny object, carefully chosen. They don't steal for need, they steal for style. So tell me, are magpies villains or visionaries? Because maybe what we call mischief is just intelligence having fun. Next, we head into the shadows of the cliffs, where beauty gets traded for brute force and wisdom grows a pair of talons. You ever meet someone who looks like they've seen too much and are quietly judging everyone about it? That's the hooded crow, Iran's gray philosopher with the mind of a scientist and the attitude of a barista who's done with humanity. Half black, half silver gray. It's like someone tried to color a raven and ran out of ink. But don't let the minimalist fashion fool you. This bird is brilliant. Tool user, problem solver, and one of the few species that seems genuinely bored with simple survival. They hang out in cities, farms, and ruins, basically wherever humans drop food or ideas. They recognize faces, hold grudges, and can even teach each other which people to avoid. That's not instinct. That's sociology. Fun fact, hooded crows have been caught using traffic lights. They drop nuts on roads, wait for cars to crush them, then collect the pieces when the light turns red. That's not just clever. That's calculated patience. But there's something poetic in how they move. Unlike their showy cousins, they don't caw for attention. They mutter. They analyze. They're half saint, half prankster. A mind that drifts between mischief and philosophy. In Persian culture, crows have long been seen as messengers, bridges between the living and the unseen. Maybe that's why this one wears gray, a color caught between black and white, between judgment and grace. So what do you think? Wise sage of the city, or just the world's smartest pessimist? Because if birds had philosophers, this one would write essays in breadcrumbs. Next, we leave philosophy for architecture and meet a tiny perfectionist who builds homes so beautiful, even humans had to name them after art. You think humans invented architecture? Cute. Meet the Eurasian penduline tit, Iran's tiniest architect, decorator, and full-time perfectionist. This bird weighs less than a coin, yet builds one of the most complex nests in the natural world. A hanging pouch woven from plant fibers, fluff, and spider silk. Soft on the inside, waterproof outside. It's basically a 5-star treehouse made by something the size of your thumb. And here's where it gets interesting. They do it alone. The male designs, engineers, and weaves every single thread, spending up to 3 weeks crafting what can only be described as luxury real estate for one egg at a time. Fun fact, each nest has a secret side door, a fake entrance to confuse predators. That's right. This bird invented home security before we even had locks. When you see one of these nests swaying over Iran's marshes, you can't help but laugh. It's tiny, adorable, ridiculously precise. It looks like it was designed by an obsessive minimalist with too much caffeine and something to prove. But it's not all cozy fluff and craftsmanship. Penduline tits have complicated relationships. Males often abandon the nest before the female lays eggs. Females sometimes do the same. Apparently, when you're that good at construction, you don't need emotional stability. Still, it's hard not to admire them. Each nest is a statement, fragile, temporary, but impossibly beautiful. A reminder that perfection doesn't have to last forever. So, what do you think? Tiny genius or overachiever with commitment issues? Because if birds had design awards, this one would win and skip the ceremony. Next, we trade soft silk for sharp feathers and meet a royal bird whose voice has echoed through Persian dawns for centuries. You know that one guy who wakes up before everyone else just to make sure you know he woke up first? That's the black francolin, Persia's royal alarm clock with a crown, a temper, and zero chill. Every dawn in Iran's farmlands, you can hear his voice cutting through the mist. A sharp, proud, borderline arrogant call that basically says, I own this field, and you're mourning dressed in black, gold, and chestnut. He struts through the grass like he's late to a royal parade. Males have crisp white throat patches, a fiery orange collar, and the kind of posture that screams self-confidence overload. Fun fact, for centuries, the black francolin was considered a noble bird, symbol of bravery, fertility, and prestige. Even Persian poets mentioned its voice, describing it as both beautiful and boastful. And honestly, that's still accurate. During breeding season, males turn the volume up to 11, perching on rocks, calling nonstop, and charging at rivals like feathery gladiators. It's chaos. It's testosterone. It's also oddly endearing. They're not just noise, though. Francolins are skilled runners, darting between fields and reeds with quick, low steps. They prefer the ground to the sky, and when threatened, they vanish like smoke. 1 second here, next second gone. Royalty and stealth? Impressive combo. But here's the catch. Their beauty made them a target. For centuries, they've been hunted, prized as delicacies or trophies. Now conservationists are fighting to keep their dawn song alive. So what do you think? Majestic heritage bird or the loudest neighbor in the countryside? Because either way, the black francolin isn't losing sleep over your opinion. He's already awake. Next, we move from royal fields to dark waters, where patience is a weapon and elegance wears black feathers and cold eyes. Ever met someone who doesn't talk, doesn't brag, just shows up and gets the job done? That's the great cormorant, the black fisherman of Iran's lakes and rivers, and possibly the most underrated hunter alive. It's not colorful, not cute, just sleek. Jet black with emerald eyes and a hooked bill that looks custom-made for efficiency. While most birds preen in sunlight, the cormorant dives into cold, dark water like a pro athlete clocking into work. Fun fact, cormorants can dive up to 80 feet deep, holding their breath for more than a minute. They chase fish underwater with open eyes, propelled by strong, webbed feet. No splash, no drama, just deadly focus. And when they surface, they spread their wings to dry, that iconic crucifix-like pose. It's not for show. Their feathers aren't fully waterproof, a trade-off that gives them speed underwater. But still, it looks mythic, like a shadow rising from the deep, half bird, half memory. In ancient Persia, fishermen respected the cormorant, sometimes feared it. It was a rival and a teacher, patient, strategic, unstoppable. Even today, they nest near coasts and dams, watching, waiting, as if calculating every ripple. But here's the irony. Because they're too good at fishing, humans often see them as competition. They've been driven away from some areas, despite being part of nature's balance for centuries. So what do you think? Villain of the waters or misunderstood master? Because in a world obsessed with flash, the great cormorant wins with silence. Next, we leave the deep and return to the open skies, to meet a wanderer who brings summer, stories, and nostalgia to every home it passes. You ever see something so familiar, you forget how magical it actually is? That's the barn swallow, the bird that travels continents just to remind you that summer still means something. Long forked tail, glossy blue back, rust red throat. It's got that effortless, I woke up like this energy. They build their mud cup nests under eaves, bridges, even gas station roofs. Anywhere that feels halfway safe and somewhat photogenic. In Iran, they arrive with spring, filling the air with sharp, chirping songs and acrobatic dives that look more like joy than flight. And when they skim the water for insects, it's pure poetry. Nature's version of a fast car hugging the curve. Fun fact, barn swallows migrate thousands of miles from Africa to Europe and Asia, following the sun like winged nomads. They cross deserts, seas, and storms, and somehow they always come back to the same spot. Year after year. Talk about commitment. They're symbols of luck and homecoming in Persian culture. If a swallow nests near your house, it means good fortune's paying rent. But to the bird itself, it's just another pit stop on the endless road trip called survival. Here's what makes it funnier. They're fearless around humans. They'll swoop inches from your face just to remind you who really owns the sky. And maybe they're right. They've been here long before our houses, and they'll still be gliding long after we're gone. So what do you think? Messenger of summer or the planet's most chill commuter? Because if reincarnation's real, being a swallow doesn't sound half bad. Next, we close this journey with laughter and chaos. A bird that rules the Caspian like a ghost in white, half beauty, half mischief, and fully unforgettable. You ever hear laughter that doesn't sound entirely friendly? That's the black-headed gull, the ghostly jester of Iran's Caspian coast. Half beauty, half chaos, and 100% drama. Despite the name, its head isn't black. More chocolate brown in breeding season and white the rest of the year, like it can't decide between formal wear or vacation mode. Wings silver, eyes sharp, voice unmistakable. That cackling cry, part laugh, part threat, echoes across harbors and salt flats like the sea itself is gossiping. They're everywhere. Beaches, ports, farmland. Anywhere there's food, light, and potential trouble. They'll steal fish, raid trash, and mob anything that looks remotely edible. Pelicans, fishermen, tourists. No one is safe from the gull's sense of entitlement. Fun fact, they're expert collaborators, not with humans, but with each other. When one gull finds food, it screams, not to share, but to summon backup. Because chaos, apparently, is a group activity. Still, there's something magnetic about them. When hundreds take flight at sunset over the Caspian, their wings flash white against the crimson sky. And for a moment, you forget they're thieves. You just see ghosts dancing over water. Laughter turned into light. In Persian poetry, gulls are sometimes symbols of longing, souls wandering between sea and shore. And maybe that's why they never stop moving, never stop calling. They're restless, radiant, ridiculous, just like us. So what do you think? Clown of the coast or spirit of the sea? Because one thing's for sure, love them or hate them, the black-headed gull always gets the last laugh. So there you have it. 20 strange, sacred, and absolutely unapologetic birds of Iran. From the laughing gulls over the Caspian to the silent eagles of the desert, each one tells a story older than our borders and louder than our silence. They hunt, they sing, they steal, they build, they wander. And somehow they've all chosen this land of fire and salt to prove that beauty doesn't need permission. Iran isn't just a land of ruins and poetry. It's a living aviary of contradictions, faith and fury, grace and grit, wisdom and mischief, all packed into feathers and flight. And maybe that's why these birds feel sacred. Not because we worship them, but because they remind us what freedom actually looks like. So tell me, which one stayed with you? The philosopher crow, the pink queen of the Salt Lakes, or the laughing ghost of the Caspian? Drop it in the comments. Let's see which spirit rules your sky. Because next time, we're leaving the deserts behind and heading somewhere colder, wilder, where myths wear feathers and ice never melts. Until then, keep looking up. The sky always has another secret.